Welcome to the day after SummerSlam. Notoriously, the WWE has screwed up on their next day Raw. Let's be honest, they haven't given us a good Raw after a pay-per-view in quite a while. This Raw was a lot to take in. I can't be totally sure if this was a great Raw, a good Raw, or an overburdened Raw. Now, let me explain this simply and to the point. Sometimes giving us something huge at one time can be epic. But sometimes if you overdo it all at one time, it completely throws the show off. I can't be sure which one this is, to be honest. I'm not sure. But I'm going to let you guys figure out, from my point of view, if it was a mess that should have been slimmed down a lot more, or it was perfect the way it was. The first match of the night is New Day versus Lucha Dragons. Now, seeing that Xavier Woods came out with a trombone, started playing that mess, and everybody was into it, makes me happy. And sad at the same time. You guys know how I feel about New Day. I really want them to be bad. But they did a great job. As I said in my SummerSlam review, I appreciate what they're doing, and they're getting the gimmick over. Just like Brodus Clay, they were teamed up with some stupid bullshit, and they have turned it into gold. The WWE cannot deny it anymore. The crowd is now doing New Day rocks. They are. During the match, they were doing New Day rocks. And they gotta say this when it comes to the Lucha Dragons and when it comes to Sin Cara and Kalisto. They did a good job in one move that I haven't seen in quite a while. A monkey flip directly into a splash. Haven't seen that kind of move in quite a while for me personally. So it was actually quite nice to see a tag team do such a good move. And when it comes down to it, they were a plot device. Sad as many people want to see it, the Lucha Dragons was a plot device for what came right after they won, and that is New Day. And that is the Dudley Boys, Dudley! Now you know why Bully Ray didn't stay in TNA. This is what I believe. When it came down to it, he had an offer from the WWE. He had to get an offer. Or at least a possible consideration. And he probably thought about it along with what was going on in TNA, and he just thought, you know what, I don't want to deal with this shit. TNA looks like bullshit. And the WWE is offering me and my buddy to come back. So alright, we'll come back after SummerSlam. So they got themselves in some little bit of shape. They dealt with things they need to do, like basically Bully Ray, the actual guy dealing with his actual girlfriend that is actually on TNA, saying, honey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to stay. I'm going over to WWE for a little while. See you in a little while. And this is what we get. Am I upset about Bully Ray not being in TNA? Yes. Because he would have made TNA a lot more better. But am I glad to see him in the WWE? Yes. Because now we have a credible tag team that really will give us such huge pops. But then it makes the teams that are now getting good pops diminished. Primetime players are not going to stand a chance against the Dudley Boys. They're going to get freaking buried if they're not careful. New Day is going to probably get buried by the Dudley Boys. And they're getting freaking over. So I'm very scared for those two tag teams. Everybody else, no matter how nice they are in real life, how they're great people, if they get buried, I'm not going to be too upset about it. Here is another thing and a person that I'm feeling very sad about. Interested, but very sad about. This is the match of Mini Shield versus the Full Whites. Now, I'm sure you're going to say, what happened to your SummerSlam review? As I said before, I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't care about it because it wasn't getting Roman Reigns over, even though they had a great match. It didn't get Dean Ambrose over, even though it was a great match. Bray Wyatt is the one who lost out the most here. He did. Even though it was a great match. It was. But like I said, no one was truly getting over in the rivalry. It was a mini Shield versus a mini Wyatt. And now that you saw this match, a rematch from SummerSlam, they bring in a new guy. I don't know if he came from NXT or somewhere else. He looks damn familiar to me. He just does. I don't know where I've seen him before, but he looks familiar. You guys can tell me who he used to be, his alias in wrestling. But now this huge monster of a man has appeared, destroyed Dean, destroyed a Roman. He's bigger than Luke Harper. We know that Eric Rowan is out because he got his arm hurt, or maybe they just didn't want to bring him back anyway. But the person who's losing out the worst here is Bray Wyatt. I'm going to say this to anyone who's a Bray Wyatt fan. If you love this new faction, you're wrong. The person who really needs to be on his own and should already be near the main event or in the main event is Bray Wyatt. The most charismatic, athletic, large guys who can talk, who literally makes you love him so much you wave your cells basically in the dark with the light on, is now buried. I put 2 videos out on this guy basically saying how badly buried is he. And now he's truly buried because they stuck him once again with the same gimmick with a new guy, and he'll never get over. Now I'm sure people are going to say, well, maybe they're rebuilding the Wyatts. I'm going to rebuild Bray Wyatt. No. If they have to go back to this situation using the Shield, who probably will get a new member, or maybe the old member in a Seth Rollins. I don't think he's going back to them because he probably would be dealing with John Cena and Sting. But maybe they may get an extra partner with them, and it'll be like a new Shield. How is that going to get Dean Ambrose over? How is that going to get Roman Reigns, who is strong now? He's improved his mic skills. He's improved his skills in the ring. Many people are cheering for him, but then a lot of the crowd and a lot of the YWC are still booing his ass. Why? The guy has shown that he can get people interested in him. He does good work. And I saw how the people in my town are booing his ass. They booed him over in SummerSlam saying, what did they say? Roman sleeping? Or some kind of crap? What the fuck? He doesn't need this shit. I don't remember exactly what they said. Roman sleeping, Roman sucks or something. But essentially, he doesn't deserve it. Dean, Roman, and Bray doesn't deserve this new situation they're in. Even though the guy looked dominant. I'm not against the guy who just came in. It's not his fault. It's WWE's fault. Miz TV, the segment, and the match following it. PCB comes out. You guys tell me below, what the hell is going on with Becky? I don't think it's because she's got a tan. She just looks weird. She didn't look weird before. Maybe it's because she was lighter skinned. She looked like she got one hell of a heavy tan, and now she looks weird. She's still a good looking woman. She still talks the same. She still wrestles the same, but you guys tell me what the hell's going on with her. But then, here's the problem. Bella's come out. No problem. They're going to do that anyway. PCB says their bit. The Miz says his bit. No problem. It's what we expected. The match was the problem. Because it was not the match quality 100%. It wasn't a bad match between these two teams. The freaking crowd wanted Sasha Banks. That means they wanted Team Bad. That means my Naomi they wanted. That means my Tamina they wanted. Even if it wasn't as high as a Sasha Banks. You got Sasha. You got Naomi. You got Tamina. These are the positions they're in. Is it right? No, because it should be Naomi, Tamina, Sasha. Sasha has not been there as long as them. Naomi has been there and deserves what she gets. But the person who should be first in line to get the title should be Tamina, as I said. But they were screaming for Sasha. Then they did the wave. Then they wanted Rusev. Then they wanted JBL. They made the worst mistake at SummerSlam by destroying Team Bad, and then worse. Team Bad didn't come out during the match. Team Bad didn't come out after the match. We just had PCB and the Bellas. And the Bellas won it. What a waste. And I'm leaving it there. Jon Stewart and John Cena and Ric Flair, the wheeling and dealing, whining and gunning, sexist son of a bitch who will take a woman to Space Mountain, pay for the ride. He will pay for the ride at Space Mountain. Make sure when the ride is over, she understands she now has 10 babies in her belly. That's what happens with Ric Flair, next to him being drunk out of his freaking mind. But let's be honest here. Was this a good segment with Jon Stewart, Ric Flair, and John Cena? No. You're trying to tell me Jon Stewart came out the way he did, wanting to destroy Seth Rollins, but then realizing he can't do it because he needs to destroy John Cena, because he doesn't want to destroy his all-time favorite, Ric Flair's title reign and title run. If Jon Stewart was a better actor, I would fall for it. But that was the most worst acting I'd seen in a long time from anyone from the outside. Stephen Amell did a better job. And he was wrestling at the time. So this segment just didn't work for me. Then John Cena F-U'd the motherfucker. I'm saying F-U because that's what it started as. The attitude adjustment is because they just didn't want to be the way he was being. Bull. It's F-U. But here's the problem. John Cena now wants to go after Seth Rollins. But that makes no sense what happened at the end of the show. So what the hell is going to happen with John Cena? Is he just going to try and get back the U.S. title from Seth? Or is it just going to be left for a later date that he's going to disappear for a while? It's a little confusing. My guess is he's going after the U.S. title. He's going to demand the U.S. title back so he can go back to the the U.S. Open Challenge stuff that he was doing. Because it's going to make no sense for him to go after the title if the future is with Sting. And I'll explain that more in detail after this. We still got a little bit more to talk about. The Stardust segment with Bad News Barrett. Now that's confusing. Really it is. Unless they elaborate on SmackDown or main event, this isn't going to make any sense. Because you can say it makes sense because Bad News Barrett lost with him. So he blames Bad News Barrett, so he kicks his ass. But then he doesn't say the reason why. Then Neville comes out. They do a short fight. You got Stardust running away. You don't see Bad News Barrett. It's so disjointed. If Stardust had stated what he wanted, saying, "You are the one who caused me to lose. I want Neville. I want to take his ass out." If he had done that, it would have made better sense. Doing it like this was so loose and so disjointed. I didn't really care that much about it. I'm glad Neville's going to have someone to deal with now because he still needs a progression. But that's what I'm going to leave it at that. The 8-man tag. What the hell was that? It's not the point that it was a bad tag match. What the hell was that? I mean, Ziggler looked okay. Cesaro's the one that people liked the most. Most of the people still cheering for Orton and cheering for Ryback, yes. But what the hell was the ending? Because now you think, what's going to happen with Sheamus and the Big Show? Sheamus gets his ass knocked out by Big Show. Then Big Show gets his ass kicked by Rusev and Kevin Owens, and they walk away. Then everyone else gets in the ring, and Dolph and Orton are the ones who come out on top. And the other two are just helping out. What the fuck? Who is Big Show now going to be angry at? Is he going to be having a fight with Sheamus now? Is Sheamus going to have a fight with him? Is Big Show going to be after Rusev and now Kevin Owens? Is he going to go after Dolph Ziggler and Randy Orton? Is he going back after Ryback or Cesaro? What the fuck? That was such a big mess. It may have been exciting to some people, but at least you got to know who's going to be going after who now. Is Sheamus going after Big Show? Is Big Show going after Kevin Owens and Rusev? Or is he going to go after Dolph Ziggler and Randy Orton? What the fuck? Or is he still going to be dealing with Ryback? That was a big mess. Finally, the end of the show. If I'm missing anything, I'm sorry. The end of the show, two things happened. One, McMahon's birthday was ousted, and pretty much Triple H and Steph were trying to make it light. But for what I understand, Vince does not like interjecting his own life into the show unless he wants it to be. Vince is a very big control freak. Only when he's willing to announce his birthday does he want it out there. What they did pissed his ass off, and I'm sure they got yelled at. Then Stephanie got a big hug. Then Paul got a hug and said, "You motherfucker, I hate you. Be glad that you're family. Thank you, but I hate you." Then a few hours later, he'll probably be happy after Vince gets a couple of drinks into his ass. And you better be careful. He's 70 years old. He can't drink the way he was when he was 30 or 40. Like me. Then we had Sting come out after the very long, lengthy segment with Seth Rollins. I think it was a little too long because when they lifted that box off of Sting, you could see a lot of his face paint came off because that shit was hot. That box must have been freaking hot for Sting. That must have been very hot. Then Sting kicks Seth Rollins' ass, lifts up the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, not the US Championship, and they pretty much cut from there. And then, well, I didn't see the Triple H interview afterward. I think I'm going to check that out to see what he said. I didn't see it, but generally speaking, this was a huge show that had a lot of stuff. The Dudleys showed up. A new guy with the Wyatt showed up. Sting showed up. Ric Flair showed up. Jon Stewart got FU'd. That's a lot of shit. But was it a good show in general? It was an okay show. But throwing so much of all that might have diluted the show a lot. It would have been better if they did half of it. Jon Stewart being FU'd would have been understandable. The Ric Flair segment coming in was understandable, even though it still was a sucky piece of crap segment. And then they left it at that for the entire show. The next week, they bring back the Dudleys, and then the next week after that, they bring the new guy in for the Wyatts. If you'd broken it down a little bit, it would have made more sense. It was so much, too much. But it was still a decent show, but they gave us too much shock value, which I think brought the show down quite a bit. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane View. Please give me a comment below. I'm sorry I won't be doing the debate of the week this week. I have some things I have to do and some things I got to worry about. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll be fine, I hope. You guys have a good day and have a good night. Peace!